Hello guys, this is Sri again coming back with a new video. So in this video we are going to see this is something like a not very frequent, but when we are migrating the users from MySQL 8, or if you are using the authentication plugin, is catching SHA2 password. So in that case, this video will be really helpful. So let me give some overview about the topic, what we are going to discuss. Let's take a simple example. I have two MySQL server and I have one user one in the MySQL one. I do not aware of the password of it. So my requirement is I need to create the same user with same privileges and same password in the MySQL 2. Okay. So here with the MySQL native password, we will see some hash and we will just copy it and we will create in the MySQL 2 environment, right? But with catching SHA2 password plugin, from my experience, sometimes it works, sometimes it not works because the hash with catching SHA2 has some binary contents, and when I'm copying from one terminal to other terminal, that is something not works. So let's try to reproduce that in this uh, tutorial, and we will see how we can fix it. Okay, so the main, you already aware that default authentication plugin is the parameter we used to set the authentication plugin. Before MySQL 8, it is MySQL native password. Considering the security improvement from MySQL 8, the default authentication plugin is catching SHA2 password. Okay, so the hash is something added some next level of the security improvement with that. Okay, so this is the what I mentioned. This is the scenario. I want to migrate one user from source to target server, which means the MySQL 1 to MySQL 2 with same grants and same password. Okay, this is one of the create user statement. Yeah. Um, yeah, let's see the demo. I think I don't want to go much with the theory thing. Multi-pass list. So I have created two MySQL instances. One is the MySQL 1 and MySQL 2. Let me log in. Multi-pass shell MySQL 1 and here MySQL 2. Okay. Now, yeah, let me, yeah, clear. MySQL is already installed on both of these servers, and the MySQL version is 8.0.39. Okay, on both the server and system hostname. So you can see the first one is the MySQL 1 and the second one is the MySQL 2. Fine. So now let me come to the first one from the MySQL 1. Default authentication plugin, right? So the default value is catching SHA to password. That is the default from MySQL 8. Now let me create one user. Okay. So let's do first let me explain how to copy the user using MySQL native password. Then we will see the complication with catching SHA2 password. Then we will see how to fix that. Okay, so I think that will be the flow. So first let's create one MySQL user with MySQL native password. Okay, so here this is it from the MySQL one. Create user Sri blocks one at the rate localhost identified with MySQL native password by some password. Let me use this one. Yes. So here you can see my user is created. So let me explain this. So I used with MySQL native password because the default authentication plugin is catching SHA2 password. So if I did not mention this, then the user will be created with the default one, which is the catching SHA2 password. So now the user what we created is created with MySQL native password. So let me show you. Select user comma host comma authentication string comma plugin from MySQL.user where user equal to 3 blocks. Okay. Okay, 3 blocks 1. So here you can see user is 3 blocks 1 and host is the local host, and this is the authentication string. I can just copy it, right? And the plugin is with MySQL native password. Now, if I execute this command in MySQL 2, of course, the user should not be there because we just created on the MySQL 1 server. Now I want to create the same user, 3 blocks 1, on the MySQL 2 as well with the same password. Okay, so let's say I'm new to the server, the user is already exist, but I have the requirement to create the same user in the MySQL 2. In that case, what I will do, I will just copy this hash and I will use this as a password. It will work, right? So for example, we have a command show create user. Okay, so it will give the create user statement. We can just copy and paste it. Okay, for example, show create user. um Let me copy it, and here you can see it just print the create user statement, right? It just print the create user statement, and here you can see this mentioned with MySQL native password because the user was created with the MySQL native password plugin. So we have that. So I can just copy this content and I can go this server and I can just paste it. There is a error. Let me see. Identified. Let me copy to the notepad. Maybe some copy paste issue. Okay, I just copied from the entire thing. We don't need this. Yeah, so actually this is the actual create user statement. There is a typo. Yeah, so now let me execute this over here. The user got created, right? Now let me try to log in MySQL-u 3 logs 1-p. I can use this password, it will work. See, I managed to log in. So this is quite simple with the MySQL native password. Even if I do not aware of the password, I can just use this hash to create the user on the different server, right? Fine. Now, let's see the same example with um, catching sha2 password plugin and see how that is happening. Okay, fine. So I'm just taking this create user statement. So here you can see we added this with catching sha2 password. Even without this, by default, the user will be created with this plugin because the default authentication plugin is catching sha2 password only. Okay. Anyway, we use this create user statement. Now I'm going to MySQL 1. Okay. And let me create. The user is created. Now let me check. Here you can see I get this hash, right? And let me see the select user thing. Yeah, I had this hash. So what I mentioned with catching, from my experience, sometimes it works, sometimes it not works. Okay. Then maybe the password is encrypted, that binary character, something which is not supported from terminal to terminal. And we will let me reproduce the thing. Okay. So I'm trying to copy this and going to execute in the other server. Okay, I logged in with the Sriblocks one user, so I don't have the privilege. See, when I try to copy this and I'm pasted the same here, I'm getting this error. So what it is telling, the password hash does not have the expected format. Okay, so this is the exact error. So I mean, with MySQL native password, the hash is quite simple. So we can easily copy, I mean, that is kind of a text hash. We can just copy and paste to along with different servers. But as I mentioned, with catching SHA2 plugin, hash have the binary contents which we are copying from terminal to other terminal, that gives that not works. Okay, so you can see the live example here. I'm getting this error, the password hash does not have the expected format. So we just reproduced it. Then how to fix it? Let's say I'm migrating the user from one environment to other environment, or the kind of simple example what we did now. I need to copy the privilege from one. I do not aware of the password. I aware only the hash, but copying the hash is not working. It gives the error. So in this case, how I can create the user? That is the next question, right? So for that, we have one parameter which is introduced in MySQL 8.0.17, which is print identified with hex, with as hex. Yeah, let me show you the example. So what it will do, it will convert the password hash to hex symbols. We can just copy it. That is the like a plain text without binary. We can easily copy it from one terminal to other terminal. Similarly, like the MySQL native password. This is one thing. And we can also convert the password hash with binary. It will generate the hex symbol. We can use that also to create the password. So let me show the example. So for now we are unsuccessful to create the three blocks user on the MySQL 2 terminal, and we had this error. The password has does not have the expected format, right? So now what we can do, so first method, we can convert the authentication string using binary. So for example, the same thing, instead of authentication string, let me remove and let me put it. See, I just convert, I mean, instead of directly printing the authentication string, which means the password hash, I am just converting the hash using the binary. In that case, I get the hex string and I can use it. For example, here, let me copy, and here let me remove the, okay, hash, which was with catching sha, and let me put this. Okay. Oh man, that is huge. Fine. So now let me enter. Password has does not support. Let me check. Hmm. Um. Okay, I think this. Let me try now. Yes. So the issue is the single quotes. We don't need the single quotes. See, now the user is created. Now let's try this login is working or not. Okay, that is the next step. Just quite MySQL -u 3 logs -p. So if this login works, then we are good, right? Huh. See, we are managed to log in. Yeah, so we are logged in with the free blocks user. So this is the one of the method. So what we did, when we try to copy the hash directly, it does not work. We had the password hash does not have the expected format, wrong hash issue. So what we did with the first approach, we just manually converted the authentication string, which means the password hash to hex using the command, convert command. Then it generated the hex. Then we tried to create the user. It worked perfectly. And we had one issue here. The quotes is not needed. Okay. So with the quotes, we had the error first. Then after that, we just removed the quotes, single quotes. Then it was worked. And we also tried to log in. It works perfectly. Right. Now, let's come to this parameter, which is the print identifier with as X. Okay, as I mentioned, this is introduced from MySQL 8.0.17. And let me show you. Yeah, show variables like, okay. So by default, the parameter is off. This have the global scope, session scope. Okay, you can change in the runtime, and you can also enable or disable this parameter in the session level as well. Okay, so now let me make it on session level. Session. on. Okay, before turning on this, um, let me execute this so that we can easily compare. Now let me turn on this parameter. Yeah. Now let me execute the same command. See, it generated the hex, right? So with by default with turn off, I mean with by default this is off, right? With off, it just printed the password as a hash, which does not work when we copy to other terminals. But when we enable this parameter, then what happens? It automatically prints the hex value, which was printed here, right? Instead of using this, we can just enable this parameter, print identified with this hex equal to on. Then whenever you execute the show create user, you can see the hex cache. Then we can directly copy this and you can execute. Okay, here it will not work because the user is already exist, right? We already created it. See, the user is already exist. Let me drop it. Drop user. Yeah, now let me execute this command, create user command again. You can see it works fine. And trying to log in. Where is the password? It is works. You can also verify it. Fine. So I think, yeah. So instead of if you run out this issue before, maybe if you did not figure it out, then I think this video will be helpful for you. And in case if you are using, see, this parameter is introduced from MySQL 8.0.17, right? Maybe if you are running with the lower versions, then I think you can use this approach, the first one what we see in the video. Okay, yeah, and the main thing, it does not affect the MySQL.user table. So for example, here, yeah, so we see this, right? But let me check the MySQL user table. Let me, okay, so we have this convert, right? So that is the reason. Let me remove it. Authentication string, where class. Yeah. So when you just see the MySQL.user table, actually it stored the hash values only. Okay. But when we enable this parameter, when you are printing using the show create user statement, then it will just print. It will fetch the hash from the MySQL.user table and it will convert to hex. Then it will print it. Okay, that's it. But this hex value is not stored in the MySQL.user table. Okay, the actual value is stored in the hash only. But for the handy, I mean, to copy to other servers purposefully, we can enable this parameter and it will just, when it prints the hash, it will just convert to hex and it will print it. You can just copy and paste, I mean, in the other servers. So yeah, this is what I wanted to explain in this video. Yeah, as I mentioned, this parameter is supported from 8.0.17. Maybe if you are running before that versions, you can use this approach to migrate the users or yeah, copy the users along with the servers. Okay, so yeah, that's it. So hopefully this video is helpful. So if you have any questions and if you are recommending some topics, please comment in the video and please share the videos with your friends and subscribe the channel for more MySQL related videos. Thank you very much. See you.